All right, Fresh, let's go to our last game of the week before we wind up doing our quick hitters. Right now, we're going to the SEC title game. It is the Georgia Bulldogs. They are 12-0 on the year, undefeated in the conference, and they are going to face a familiar foe in the SEC title game. This game's at 4 o'clock. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're 8-0 in the conference, 11-1 on the season. Right now, the spread opened up at 4, which I thought was a very accurate number for me. Georgia was a 4-point favorite. At time of record, that spread has moved all the way to 6 points. Over-under is set at 54.5 here, Fresh. I got some thoughts. I'll save it to the end. I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead, Fresh. What you got? Georgia, Alabama.
Well, first off, dogs have a ton at stake. Two-time defending national champions, but can they actually beat Alabama in 2 straight meetings? They haven't done that in a long time. Can they win back-to-back SEC titles? They haven't done it in the championship game era. They maybe did it back in the 80s. They did it back in the 80s, but they haven't done it in the championship game era. That's another thing they could look to accomplish. They haven't done yet. That's at stake. Can they beat Alabama in Atlanta? Haven't done that. A win gives them 30 straight games and keeps the hope of a three-peat alive. Can they keep this thing going? Can they keep the dream going? Can keep that momentum going? A loss, honestly, probably keeps them out of the playoff. A win obviously keeps them going into the playoff. There's a lot hanging in the balance of this football game against a foe that you know and they know you very, very well. There's a history there between both these programs. Obviously, the Tua and then 2021 season, January 22. Dogs then, Keith Ringer run down the sideline versus Alabama and finally win the national title. There is history. There is back and forth. There's a lot at stake when it comes to this ball game. Brock Bowers should be okay to return. Ladd McConkey trending in the right direction. Tate Rutledge guard probably going to play. Robert Thomas probably going to, he's up there. Status is still day to day. Long shot, coach said today, Jamon Dumas Johnson, week to week, probably not going to play. So with the fractured arm. And then Julian Humphrey's back. So you have some injuries. So guys are getting back and healthy for the Dogs. A lot of them sat out and didn't play for Georgia Tech. Are they truly right 100%? Are they going to play 80%? How long are they going to last? Are they going to be in specialized packages? Obviously, we'll see that when it comes on Saturday. But getting them back and having that full arsenal available, because they're going to need it in a big game. They're going to have to score some points to beat Alabama. This game will be decided at the line of scrimmage, as it always is. Which offensive line and defensive line will take charge and own the game? Who will lean on the other team? Who will own the trenches? Who will force it down? So that come the second half, that running game truly takes over. Which offensive line can pass protect and give that extra 2 or 3 yards in that run blocking game? And which front seven for the defense will be able to attack and own the line of scrimmage? Line of scrimmage. That is the key. Who has that true desire to own that piece of territory and dictate the football game in their terms? When the dust is settled, whoever's done that obviously will have won this football game. And that's going to be a full 4-quarter brawl. It's not going to be decided in the first 2 quarters. It's going to be where you. In the fourth quarter, the product of whoever's dominated will eventually be fulfilled by the yardage being picked up and time being had for the quarterback, so on and so forth. Who can own the line of scrimmage? Who is up for that challenge in the war in the trenches in this ball game? Georgia's defense has been susceptible to quarterback runs and the stretch perimeter run game all season long. That really comes down to how are they going to be able to manage and take this out, whether it's McClellan running the ball, Williams, more importantly, Jalen Milroe and his legs. He is explosive. He creates plays. He breaks down the play, uses his legs a lot. They're not designed runs half the time, but when the pass play or a boot breaks down, his ability and his athletic skill to take it to the next level and make things happen, whether his legs are getting the first downs or his mobility in the pocket is creating defensive backs or linebackers to come up to stop the run and hitting deep throws ahead, down the field behind it. How does the Georgia defense, align and cover that, shut down, maybe contain that running game, set the edge on the perimeter? That's going to come down to the linebackers. Even the corners got to step up and really be active in that run defense. Smile London, Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen, where are you guys going to be? Your guys are going to be in the backfield, or are you going to be watching your players and playing your marks at the linebacker spot and tackling at the first position and not allowing those missed tackles to become 10, 15, 12 yards after? Wrap up, play contact, play smart. Do not get lost in the misdirection. Georgia Tech did a lot of misdirection, did a lot of perimeter run game. Ole Miss does a lot of perimeter run game. We had some moments in both those games where they were a little off. You've got to be able to clean that up, get better, because if not, this is going to be a long day, and Jalen Milroe and that running in for Alabama will be very productive. You've got to be able to contain and tackle, wrap up at point of contact. Even today, Kirby Smart compared Milroe to Lamar Jackson with his size, his ability and mobility, his constant in movement to make things happen. You're looking at most of his completions and most of his explosive touchdowns are all 20 plus yards down the field. His medium passing game isn't it that great? I think it's about 52%, maybe 53% completion percentage. But when he gets 20 yards plus, he hits the big money because his legs are creating those defensive backs to keep peering in the backfield, and receivers like Burton are getting behind him. You've got to be a full complementary. You've got to trust your system. You've got to trust your teammates to be in the right spots, and do not let those Alabama receivers to get behind you, and let everybody else wrap up and take care of their business. That's how you take it, because Milroe will beat you deep if the opportunity presents itself. McClellan, I mentioned earlier, questionable coming into this ballgame right now. Obviously, this is early in the week with a foot injury. It's lingering kind of there. If he's not good to go, where he's kind of limited, you're going to see a lot more of Roydell Williams, but definitely Milroe, being the third leading rusher, is going to have a say in that ground game for Alabama. Before anything else, we've got to give a lot of credit to Nick Saban and Tommy Rees, the way that they have reinvented this entire Alabama offense. They were a mess early in the year. I think everybody will admit that, including Coach Saban. But went down to South Florida. Milroe didn't play. They kind of benched back, brought him back in, figured out what he's good at, and they've constantly grown and grown and grown, using his legs, using more of a spread mobile quarterback opportunity to really make them more explosive, letting the receivers get open in the secondary, maybe making trash plays. I'm using trash air quotes as junk plays, broken down plays, becoming profitable touchdown drives. Letting those things happen. Doesn't always have to be 3 yards, foot in the ground, hit the throw. Letting things happen using your ability, letting the defense collapse and become exposed. They've done a great job building around this. How are they going to be prepared for this Georgia defense, and how's the Georgia defense going to be prepared? What wrinkles are going to be shown on Saturday? What have both teams been preparing? Because obviously they've known about this matchup for a few weeks. They've been putting stuff in their game plan up to this point now for a while. What wrinkles do both teams show to try to get an advantage on Saturday afternoon? I have a feeling, though, Jermaine Burton, being a former Georgia wide receiver, now playing for Alabama, he's eccentric. I'm going to say probably the best way to put it. He's looking to show up and have a big game versus former team. There's definitely some fans out there who have chirped and happy that he's no longer a Georgia Bulldog. He's done some things off the field that have been very questionable up in Rocky Top. Other hand gestures and things to other people throughout the years and the weeks and the touchdown celebrations. If he can have a game, he's definitely going to show himself. So be mindful of that. You got to contain him. And if you're Burton, don't let your emotions get too much of you, because the refs are going to be watching you. And if you start chirping or doing something stupid, you will get a flag. You got to play within yourself and be a little smart. Don't lose a football game due to your extracurricular activities. Play within the self and let your play do your talking. But Georgia, watch out for him, because he's definitely set, mindful to have a big game on purpose to show up and show out. Dallas Turner, Jahad Campbell, Deontay Lawson, Kool-Aid, Caleb Downs, they're legit playmakers on this Alabama defense. It's another Alabama defense, folks. I don't care who they are. They put the crimson helmets on, the white, this is obviously wearing the crimson jerseys in this game. They show up, they play discipline, they play fast, they make plays. How does this Georgia offensive line get after the second level and shut them down, especially with Dallas Turner? He's a playmaker off the edge. How do you keep him out of the ball game? How do you reduce his explosive abilities and take advantage of maybe him over pursuing in some situations? Because this Alabama defense has definitely grown. As the offense has gotten their feet under them, the defense has always been there all entire year. Do you have something special for them? What do they bring to this football game to help their offense? This is a moment. Alabama has nothing to lose. They're probably not going to the playoff unless absolute chaos happens, but they are 100% focused on getting another SEC title and keeping Georgia from going for a three-peat, something Alabama hasn't done. So there is drive, there is focus, there is fire. This is going to be a pad-popping 60-minute brawl. It's Nick Saban revenge tour. He's already beaten Tennessee, already beaten LSU. Now he has his sights set on Kirby Smart and the Dogs. What does Georgia have? The pressure's on them. Everyone expects them to come in here and win, but everyone also wants to see them lose. You've got to wear it. You got to wear it with honor. You got to wear it with pride. Everyone's targeting you. This is what happens when you're the champ. Everyone wants to take you down. Keep the fight going. Versus ranked opponents, you've been wiping the field with them. 3 of the 4 ranked opponents this year, you've beaten by 4 touchdowns. I don't see them beating Alabama by 4 touchdowns in this game, but they've definitely shown up when the lights are brightest. Do the Dogs have one more full event in them? Because this game, are they ready to show up? In the end, I think Georgia has just enough talent to beat Alabama. This will be a brawl all day long, all 60 minutes. I think Georgia wins 34-31, maybe a 31-27 ball game. It will be 3 to 4 points when it's settled in the end. Georgia will somehow survive. They'll score late, but this will be a brawl, and it'll be worth watching from start to finish.
Fresh. It's been since 2015, 2014 that a team has beaten Alabama in back-to-back attempts, and that's Ole Miss. It's something that doesn't happen very often. I went back, I looked at common opponents for this, and really, coming off the Auburn game, that was an interesting thing. When both of those teams played, both of them needed basically a fourth quarter miracle to win the football game. Both of them did. Georgia needed Brock Bowers to play like the superstar he is. Alabama needed a miracle and a half and whatever the heck that was to win their football game. But I look back at when Georgia played Auburn, they gave up 219 rushing yards on 43 carries. Auburn was averaging over 5 yards a carry. Last week in the Iron Bowl, Alabama gave up 244 yards to Auburn on 42 carries, over 5.5 yards rushing on this. Both of these teams you're going to go into this football game thinking that you can run on the other one. Is it going to be the double M's here, McKellen and Milroe, if McKellen plays and is able to just kind of run? Or is it going to be Roydell Williams that'll take his place on that part if he's not able to go? I have a hard time believing that McKellen is not going to play in this game unless it is physically impossible for him to suit up. But who knows what it is? We'll wait to hear what our injury reports in this. And then it's taking a look at Georgia. Is Georgia going to be able to use their power backs? Is it take a look at Edwards. Is he going to be able to really get going on this? Is it going to be Milton? Who's it going to be for Georgia to run the football? That's going to be the big conversation that's going to be had in this game. The other one is which quarterback is going to be the electric playmaker in it. Carson Beck, he's looked very, very good. Is he Stetson Bennett? No. Is there a lot of guys out there who can play like Stetson Bennett? No. On that part. But he's been a nice quarterback. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the country this season. Milroe started off very, very slow. There's some heavy criticism, probably rightfully deserved, earlier in the season. But he's progressed. And that's the crazy thing about him. You take a look at it and you can see the raw talent that Nick Saban saw in this game. Or lean up into this game. And you can see kind of what Milton has done over the time period. For me, Fresh, it comes down to which team am I going to trust more in this one. And Georgia's won 29 games. And I think about this, and I think about one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time when I was thinking about this game. And that is a guy by the name of Mean Mark Calloway, or you better know him as The Undertaker. And The Undertaker has this phenomenal 30-year career in professional wrestling. And very early on in his career, The Undertaker won his first World Wrestling Federation title over Hulk Hogan, one of the biggest champs of all time. And then at the end of his career, when he had the WrestleMania streak, he lost to a guy by the name of Brock Lesnar. All people that you've heard, even though Fresh is not a wrestling fan here. Which one is it going to be? Is Nick Saban going to play the role of The Undertaker again and be able to cut out the hearts of the Georgia Bulldog fans? We've seen this song and dance before. Georgia luckily beat Alabama to get over the hump, but time is told with this. Or is it the final piece where you end the streak, you end the career of Nick Saban kind of as boss hog in the SEC. And really, if Georgia wins this football game, the argument can be made it's Georgia's conference over Alabama. I think that even being back-to-back champions, there's still a group of people that are hanging out there and go, yeah, but you're not Alabama. Because Bama's done it for such a long period of time. In the end, Fresh, this is a 6-point favorite. Give me Bama and the points. Fresh, Georgia's won 29 straight.
29 straight so far.
Yeah. Best year of my life. was probably my 29. You never want to cross that 30 threshold, folks. Guess what? Georgia's not crossing the 30 threshold either. Alabama wins this football game. I think that their defense is going to have something different for Georgia. I think that while you talked about it, I think both of these teams were looking ahead to the SEC title game. I think that it was evident in their play last week. Georgia letting Georgia Tech hang around way too long for that game. Alabama letting a lesser Auburn team hang around way too long. Why? Because they were looking forward to this game. I got Saban winning this football game. I think I got Alabama making a claim that they deserve to be in the college football playoff. And I think that we can, at the end of the game, give a polite clap to Georgia because at this time, you've now established yourself as one of, if not the marquee program in the country. Sooner or later, Nick Saban's 72. Guy's going to be done here very shortly. It is Georgia's world that they're going to live in. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Georgia handles the new divisionless conference. I think that's a new world that we're going to be exploring in 24 here fresh. But the defense for the Tide, I think they have too many playmakers. I think they just have too many ridiculously good players. Give me Alabama in this game, and I like Alabama. I think it's still going to be close. Only a field goal game in this one. So if we wake up on Sunday and I'm wrong on this one, yeah, so be it. I got the Crimson Tide in this one.
That's right. You bring up a good point. It's the last East-West SEC title game. It's going to be interesting. You know, you got to take care of business. You got to go out there and focus. Atlanta's always a tough place. Alabama, Georgia. Alabama's obviously owned that recently pretty heavily. So, but still, the task is there. You've got to take out Alabama back-to-back times, and if you can't do it, they're still going to have that air hanging over everybody. I have a feeling, though, it's going to be a Ladd McConkey ball game. I just have a feeling he's going to be healthy enough. He's going to grind it through, and he's going to make some big plays on Saturday.
Yeah, fresh. You're going to be introduced to a man by the name of Paul Bear. Oh, yeah. He's going to be rest in peace.
That voice was out there for sure.
Fresh, you need to go on the YouTube and see who Paul Bear is. He was the manager of The Undertaker for 30 years. He was licensed mortician. Yeah, greatest.
Most people listen to this one, they probably think it's Paul Bear Bryant, but you're okay with Paul Bear.
Oh, no, I guarantee. Listen, if you're a college football fan, I bet you at least half of our fans are also professional wrestling fans. I guarantee you that, again, leave it in the comment section. If you know who Paul Bearer is, just let us know. Fresh, how don't you know who Paul Bearer is? And leave him like a gift to Paul Bearer going, he had the urn like this and hold it close to his face. There. All right, Fresh. Yeah. You're missing out on some great wrestling stuff there.